Hey there, Kelvin Chin here. Um, just wanted to share with you some other thoughts I've been having lately on judgment, the idea of judging others, judging other people. We hear this a lot about, especially in spiritual circles. We hear this a lot where people say, "Oh, no judgment. Don't judge other people. It's not good to judge other people. It's generally considered a bad thing. Don't be judgmental of others, etc." This kind of thinking. And I want to give you a little bit of a different angle on thinking about this idea of judgment. I'm going to talk about it today as the title of the talk today is Judging Others. And then later this week, I'm going to talk about a different aspect, a different angle of looking at the whole notion of judgment. How do you live in a world that judges you? So when others are judging you, I'm going to talk about that later this week. But today, what I want to talk about is you judging other people. Okay? So here's the thing. Judgment in terms of assessment, that's what judgment means. It means assessing the other person. It's not inherently a bad thing. So the blanket statement that you often hear in spiritual communities where they say judgment is bad, it's not good to judge other people, that's incorrect. The blanket statement is incorrect. I would say that if we look at it, think about it a little bit more clearly, I'd say judging others, what their internal life is like from a spiritual standpoint, I would say, yeah, that's impossible to do. We cannot judge other people, and we shouldn't judge other people from a spiritual standpoint. Like, okay, that person is more evolved than that person over there, that kind of thing. People do that all the time. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying I don't think it's a valuable thing to do. I don't think it's useful because I think we can be wrong a lot of the time. Okay? But judging other people's behavior, I think, is a good thing. I think it's an important thing. I think, arguably, it's a necessary thing for us to be happy and healthy in life. What do I mean by that? As I said, I'm drawing a distinction here. I'm not talking about judging and people and assessing their inner state of spiritual life or their state of self-awareness, all of that. We can make conjectures about those kinds of things, but often we may be wrong. I'm talking about externally. I'm talking about looking at people's behavior. What do they walk their talk? You've heard that phrase many, many times. Does the person walk their talk? Or do they just say really flowery, nice, pleasant, even positive things about you, but they don't walk it? My roommate, one of my close friends in college, my roommate, my sophomore year, used to call that cotton candy. He had a phrase for it. He says, a lot of people are walking around and they say all this really nice stuff, but it's cotton candy. What's cotton candy? Cotton candy, you get at the carnival or the circus or wherever. It's a lot of sugary, sweet stuff with a lot of air. There's no substance to it. So what I'm saying is, does the person who we're judging and assessing the behavior of, do they walk their talk, right? Or is it just cotton candy, like my roommate David used to say? I would argue that if we don't judge their behavior, we don't learn. That's how we teach ourselves about other people. We observe the world around us and we see, oh, this person acts this way, but they say this. Oh, maybe maybe other people may act similarly, they may act differently, and so forth. There's this breadth of human behavior that exists on our planet, and how the myriad of 7.6 billion humans on planet Earth right now express that behavior is unique. It's different. It's complex. There's a lot of different variations on how the people may express themselves verbally and then act in their behavior, external behavior. Does that behavior, ask yourself, does that behavior help you? And does it make you feel more supported and happier? I think those are important assessments to make. Those are important judgments to make about the person's behavior. Or do they manipulate their behavior? And do they cause you to feel weaker and almost at their mercy, in their control? Is that the kind of behavior that they exhibit to you? Well, then you need to judge that. You need to assess that. You need to pay attention to that, make note of that. And those are important distinctions to make, I would argue. Those are important judgment calls. That's what I mean when I say judging their behavior. I think it's critically important for us, as I said, for us to lead a happier, healthy life. Otherwise, you set yourself up. If you're walking through life with this notion that, no judgment belief, that judging others is a bad thing, if you're walking through life with that belief system, you will find yourself at the mercy of lots of manipulative, cruel people. People who will manipulate their behavior and your behavior as a result into thinking that they're a really nice person or that they're looking out for your best interests, and they're not. So that kind of judgment is critically important for all of us to protect ourselves from people who might do us harm, either physically, emotionally, or spiritually. It's very important. You assess a guru or teacher, a spiritual teacher, the same way. Do they walk their talk? If they don't walk their talk, I suggest that you walk the other way, whether it be in a relationship, a spiritual relationship, a romantic relationship, a work relationship. Doesn't matter what relationship we're assessing here in terms of the behavior of others. Don't be the unwitting victim here. Eyes open, thinking clearly, thinking sharply. To me, that's the epitome of loving ourselves. You hear people talk a lot about self-love and loving ourselves. It's a nice flowery thing to say, and I think it's an important thing to execute on, to actualize, to live. But loving ourselves means thinking clearly, and it means judging other people's behavior. And when other people's behavior is bad behavior, we'll just call it bad behavior, not supportive of us, unhealthy for us, then we may end up paying the price for having that false belief that judging others is bad. And we may end up in a hurtful relationship, or just unhappy. So I'm all about promoting happiness. So I would argue that we do need to judge others, not spiritually, like I said before. We can never really know where people are at self-awareness wise, because I'm all still trying to figure out myself, quite frankly, to be honest. As I continue to grow as a soul, as a spirit, as a consciousness, as a mind. But we do need to judge the behavior of other people, and if it's hurtful, I strongly recommend that we walk away. Because there's plenty of other people in the world who will support you, who will nurture you instead. So those are my thoughts for the day. Again, I'll get into a further discussion of judgment later this week. All right? Have a great day, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.